It's Friday, the 12th of March. It's 10 past 10 and this is the Vanessa Show. This Sunday, families all over Britain will be celebrating Mother's Day. But the days when it was always mother who stayed at home to look after the children are long gone. As more and more men opt to stay at home while the woman goes to work, we ask, do fathers make the best mothers? Also on today's programme, One Foot in the Grave star Richard Wilson will be here to give us the lowdown on tonight's comic relief. Help is at hand at 10:40 when Florist to the Stars Tim Dunn tells us how to create a marvellous Mother's Day bouquet on a budget. And can an aspirin a day keep a heart attack, Alzheimer's or even diabetes away? Dr. David Bull will be here to prescribe the best course of action. And who's going to be the winner of the monthly final of Our Star is Born? But first, according to a recent study, children who are raised by their fathers do better at school, have higher IQs and are more likely to thrive socially. So does this mean that fathers actually make the best mothers? Here to discuss this, a stay-at-home father, Neil Stevenson, psychologist Dr. Donna Dawson, Seth Gillman from Home Dad Link and Mike Stanley from Barclays Life. And it's lovely to meet you. Now, I think you feel that being a stay-at-home dad is a really rare and very spectacular privilege in life, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had this wonderful chance given to me by my wife, which she and I discussed when we found out we were having twins, that I should stay at home, and that's what I've done. And so I gave up my job working offshore in the North Sea drilling for oil to stay home and look after my two daughters.
We've got a picture of the twins. Let's have a look at the twins. Oh, look at those. Oh, wish you brought them along. I could have done with a squeeze of those. Oh,
I think you can probably
what are their names?
Tamsin and Angelica. I think you can probably understand now why I'm staying at home to look after them.
Absolutely.
It's really been the best year of my life, and it's been wonderful.
Are you surprised to hear that the studies show that fathers bringing up children seems to give them this tremendous advantage?
No, not really. No. I think it's great. I mean, my personal feeling is actually that you know, a couple should really sort of decide amongst themselves. I'm not really for or against women or men staying at home, but if the man wants to do it, then I think, you know, just go for it and do it, because I think it's a fantastic experience, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's hard times as well, but
I suppose many men might be worried by the idea that, you know, I suppose you'd be emasculated because you wouldn't have that traditional sort of hunter-gatherer breadwinner thing. You wouldn't be able to stride through the door and demand your pipe and your slippers and your dinner on the table. You know, you'd be sort of there doing the dusting, wiping up sick all day, and when your wife comes home, she might be sort of aggressively demanding with you. Were you worried about all of that?
Well, it is like that most of the time, yeah, but when I'm carrying both of them up to bed, you know, it's like carrying 60 pounds of weight. So anybody who says that's woman's work that's rubbish, you know, because it's hard work, but extremely rewarding. I mean, I've never had so much job satisfaction with a proper job, you know, what you might call a proper job.
How long do you think you're going to do this for?
Well, that's open to debate at the moment. I mean, we've got an open-ended idea, but I think that possibly we're going to start putting the children into daycare for a couple of days a week to just give them some more friends, and so they can meet some other little children. But
have you felt a little bit lonely? You're talking about friends for the children, but as a stay-at-home dad, have you had other little stay-at-home dads to play with during the day, or have you been all alone?
No, I mean, I've avoided all the clucking hens of the women's groups and stuff, so I've not got any friends who are at-home dads, so in that respect I'm on my own, but I've still kept in touch with all my other friends, and obviously my wife is at home, working at home sometimes as well, you know, maybe one day a week, and you know, then we're all together. But no, I've not felt lonely or detached or anything. And also because of the nature of my job before that took me all over the world, it's actually been quite a rest for me just to sort of be in one place. So, you know, in that respect, it's been nice as well.
I hope my husband is watching this. You're such a shining example of humanity. Donna, let me ask you, what do you think about the stay-at-home dad? Are you surprised to hear that fathers who bring up children give them this extra special start in life?
Well, I'm not quite sure about that. I think what Neil's doing is very admirable, but there's nothing that can beat the mother-baby bond. I'm sorry, but the baby's part of the mother's body for 9 months. The first sounds a baby hears is its mother's own heartbeat. They hear her voice. There's an emotional and physical bond there that even if the mother goes away is never going to be broken. And I think if the mother does breastfeed for however little time, that bond is actually actually strengthened. Now, the thing about mothers is that they are very much in tune to their baby's needs. And a lot of men kind of bound into this job. I mean, Neil started early, but a lot of men take over after the mother's already set the whole thing up and think, oh, this is like a new office job. I'll get the nappies here, and I'll put the crib there, and I'll get all the food organized. It's more than just that. To be in tune to a baby, you have to know what kind of cry is that when it cries. Do you know how to settle a baby when it's fractious? When my baby was fractious, I would put it on my chest so it could hear my heartbeat and it would fall asleep. There are some things a dad just can't do for a baby, and I think it's silly for us to pretend that a dad can be a mother. A dad is a dad, and I think as kids grow, parents actually become different things for their children. If a baby has access to both parents, a child will tend to go to its mother for those emotional needs. So, okay, it's doing great at school. It might be doing better socially under dad, who knows, but it might be an emotional mess because mum is the one it goes to for its health needs, its emotional needs. Dad is there for the practical issues, Neil, the rough and tumble.
I'd like to take issue with most of what she said there, actually, because because I feel as though I'm doing a very good job with my children, and certainly I've had some very positive feedback about that. Personally, I feel as though I know how to treat my children. If they are unhappy for any reason, I pick up on it, and I'm very well attuned, and I would say that anybody who spends a lot of time with children, be it a man or a woman, they're going to be able to deal with it just equally as well.
But it's not instinctive. You have to learn it, Neil, don't you? You have to learn it. It's much harder for you.
I don't think it's instinctive. And also, I make the point that in the case of my wife, I mean, she is very, very well bonded with our children, and all of us are a very close family unit. And actually, this situation where I'm at home and my wife's going out to work, it works extremely well for us.
Now let me ask Seth, because Seth Gillman's here. He's a stay-at-home dad, the founder of Home Dad Link. Do you agree with what Donna says? There are certain cries that only a mother can recognise. There's a certain bond that only a mother can have with her baby?
I think there definitely is a special bond between mothers and children, but I don't think that there's anything out of that fathers can't learn. I think that in the time that I've spent at home with my child, I've learnt those things. It might not come so naturally, but we certainly learn it. The only thing we can't do is physically is breastfeed. I feel that we can pick up all those things, and it's wrong to say that all mothers instantly have this biological bond with their children. Some mothers don't bond so well with their children, and by saying that, you're making those mothers feel much more guilty.
No, I think
because they don't bond. They don't necessarily bond with their children. And father might have a closer bond in the first
maternal
place.
love is something else. Maternal love is something that often takes time. Some mothers fall instantly in love with their babies.
These things,
but there's a physiological bond that's genetic, that's there because she was part of the baby was part of the mother's body. That you can't deny.
Well, no, absolutely, that's true. And of course, we can't actually physically give birth. But if a man spends as much time with their children as the mother does, they learn those things. I can pick up the cries just as well as my wife can. In the early days, she used to wake up before I did if our baby was crying. Now I think we wake up the same.
That's what I was going to say.
I've learned those things.
It's usually the mother who wakes up.
Because I spend a lot of time.
That's right.
Yeah, but once you spend a lot of time...
You might get up, but she wakes up first because she's more in tune with the baby.
Sure, but we can't, there's nothing to say we can't learn all those things. You know?
Yeah, with time. But I don't think it makes you a mother replacement.
I'd like to bring this lady here at the red microphone.
Sure.
What would you like to say, madam?
I've got a comment and a question, actually. My comment is that I agree that mothers do have a bond with their child, but I do think it's a good idea for fathers to stay at home to establish the same bond that we have. So I do think it is a good idea that they establish the same bond, because like the gentleman said, they can pick up on cries after a while. If they've done it from the beginning, like how you've done it from the beginning, you've done exactly the same job as a mother who stayed at home as well. So I think it's a good idea for men to stay home.
Yeah, and in my experience, men make a really big deal of being completely inadequate about things. Like
exactly.
In the middle of the night, especially, the one time you give them a big kick and say, get out, the baby's crying, then the baby cries louder and louder for 2 hours so that you never ever wake them up and make them do it again, don't you think?
Yes.
That's what they specialise in. That. Can I go to this gentleman here at the green mic?
There's lots of points there. I mean, I feel, firstly, I got up because we have 4 babies and they've all gone to sleep on my chest to my heartbeat. So I can't follow that. And the other is I feel very much a part of them. I don't feel that our children are a part of my wife's body, I feel they're part of both of our bodies. And that while our children were in the womb, I was there, and physically I would be there, and verbally I would be there. They pick up my voice and so on. So I feel as much a part of them, really.
I think it's true to say, though, if babies have a choice, if children growing up have a choice of 2 parents, they will go to different members of the family for different things. They won't go to you for the same things they would go to their mother for. That's why, to say, well, I can do the same thing as a mother, you can't. You really shouldn't try and be both.
Depends on what they're used to.
I'm still providing a father role, but I just happen to be at home more. And the one thing that I took objection particularly was describing men as hunter-gatherers. I think that's sort of like a fairly Neanderthal.
That was me. I did that. I did that. Blame me. I was the one.
Sorry, okay.
I was brung up that way. I'm sorry.
We're about to enter the millennium, and I think that 10 years ago we had the thing called the new man. That's now gone because the new man was the guy who occasionally did the vacuum and maybe cooked a meal. But now there's a real sort of partnership between two people where you can divide the tasks in any way at all.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned the millennium because that is what Mike Stanley is here for. He's here to take us into the future because you've just done this enormously expensive and extensive survey or something, research into what's going to be happening in the future, haven't you?
We have. We've got an expert on the future to look at what's going to happen to the family into the 21st century. And we're particularly interested in family values and the role of the mother and the father. And there's a heap of very interesting things that actually came out of that report. And a lot of it is related to home fathers and people who will stay at home and look after the children.
So what have you found?
Although 98% of fathers think they're the main breadwinner, things are going to change very significantly. Fathers don't feel that they spend enough time with their children. We've spoken to an awful lot of fathers, and 2/3 of them want to spend more time with their children. 1 in 6 don't see their children every day. You know, they've gone to work in the morning by the time the children are up, and when they get home, the children are already in bed, so they're only seeing them at weekends, and they don't feel that that's enough. So that would be one reason why they'll want to actually spend more time with their children. I mean, there is a growing recognition that the father is as important as the mother in raising children. Another reason may be economic. It may be women are going to start earning as much as men. They're going to be half the professional workforce in the year 2020, and we see that as having a big impact on the raising of children. They won't want to give up their careers. If they're earning more than their husbands, it may be sensible for them to continue working and for the father to stay at home and actually raise the children.
But Mike, I read your report, and by 2020, you're saying only 20% of dads will be staying at home. That's not very much. Still 80% of the child carers being the women.
It's comparatively much larger, though, and it's doubled in the last 5 years. There's now 90,000 dads staying at home to look after their children from 44,000 5 years ago. So that is obviously an increasing proportion.
But I think it's still showing that the women are the main child carers.
Yeah, but these things take time, don't they?
We're talking about a big shift in the balance in 20 years. 20 years is not a long period of time.
Let me just bring this gentleman at the microphone. Gentleman at the red mic.
Yeah, sorry, I'm to the lady here.
Donna, hi.
Hi. I actually completely disagree with you. I've got 3 daughters of 11, 8 and 6 at the moment, and I've been on my own with them for 4 years. And, you know, I mean, my children are perfectly well adjusted. They see their mother weekends, you know, so, you know, I completely disagree that I can't do just as good a job as the mother.
Well,
really.
well done to you, my goodness.
Gentlemen in the audience that actually stay home and look after their children, do their wives have very good jobs, and was that part of the choice, that they're higher earners, and that's why you chose to stay at home?
Well, you're asking me that question.
Both of you, I think.
Go on,
Yes. Yeah, well, in our personal case, I mean, at the time, my wife and I were earning about the same amount, so the decision wasn't based really on financial matters.
But if she hadn't, let's say, I know you work on the rigs, okay? I'm coming from Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
so if your wife had been, for example, like a secretary or worked in a shop, Sainsbury's or something.
Yeah, well, that's why I feel privileged, because my wife has got a very good line of work, which, you know, it means that we can afford to do this. But, you know, obviously it's got to be based on the finances as well, hasn't it?
Can I just comment to the man in red? Actually, my husband and I both equally look after my children. I work mostly from home, and he's around days because he's a musician. So we actually split it quite evenly. But I'm actually there, but I'm not there, if you know what I mean. I'm in the next room. But my children come to me, even though he's more available to them, they will come to me if they've fallen down, hurt themselves. I've got an 8-year-old and a 16-year-old. Or the 16-year-old will come to me with the boyfriend problems or the health problems, whereas they'll tend to go to dad for the money, the rough and tumble, the lifts to places, the more practical, outward, worldly needs. And I mean, that's the kind of division the kids themselves have decided to make. And we're both there for them.
Maybe that's the roles you've defined.
No, we haven't defined them.
Yeah,
the kids
well,
themselves.
maybe subconsciously, because I've been at home with my daughter, and she'll come to whoever's there first, and we both share those needs.
But if you're both there, Seth, if you're both there, if you've got a daughter, she's not going to come to you with an emotional problem.
It seems to me...
Not
well,
usually.
you don't, how can you say that?
Well, not usually.
Donna, I'll stop you there, because it seems to me that, I mean, obviously the ideal situation is that it is a team effort, isn't it? It's not who's the best or who's better, but the fact that everybody's trying their best. That's the big thing.
And they both need it.
Absolutely. I'd just like to thank you all for coming in. It's really excellent to meet you. Thank you very much indeed for coming. At 7 o'clock tonight, the 7th and last Red Nose Day of this millennium comes to our screens. Last time